Dr. Jaishree ma'am, for giving me a colorful and creative topic. So at first, when I was given the topic to talk about kolam or kolangal, I was wondering what I'm going to do in the next 50 to 20 minutes. But if you want to teach somebody how to put a rangoli or how to put a sikku kolam, you can log into YouTube and you can get any number of YouTube videos and tutorials to teach how to make a rangoli or how to make a sikku kolam. So I decided to go into the mathematical and scientific aspects of kolam. So that is when I realized that it is not 15 minutes is enough. Even we can talk about for 15 hours and 15 days together. So the kolam as the word is a Tamil word. It means beauty and form. So we can appreciate the meaning of that kolam when somebody says in Tamil alangolam. When something is out of form, we say alangolam. So kolam means beauty and form. The art of kolam is known throughout India by different names. Sangi in Uttar Pradesh, Alpana in Bengal, Mandana in Rajasthan, Chauk Purnai in Madhya Pradesh, Rangoli, Mugulu, and Poovidal in Kerala. As you see, the first picture here is the Alpana from Bengal. You can make from the white color bangle that the woman is wearing, that it is from Bengal. It is the Rangoli, as we all know, as a colorful kolam from Karnataka and Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. And this is the famous Poo kolam from Kerala that is called as Poovidal or kolam made of flowers. And this is the Madhya Pradesh kolam, and this is the Mandana from Rajasthan. You can see the tribal women making wonderful designs on the floor. And this is the Andhra Mugulu. So you can make out, people from Chennai can make out the kola podi or the kolam powder is called mugu podi. So it is basically from Andhra, they call the kolam as mugulu. Although essentially a Hindu tradition, kolam is also known to the Jains, Buddhists, and Parsis as well. And anybody here can identify this as a simple sikku kolam that is familiar to all Tamil women almost. And this is the famous sign of Buddhism called the eternal symbol or eternal knot or the Buddhist knot or the lucky knot. So you can see the similarity and appreciate that it is one and the same. The colorful kolam tradition, looking at the history, dates back to the Indus Valley civilization, that is 2000 years ago. The basic essence behind this artistic ritual is the human instinct to beautify the space of living with what we have around us. We have been doing this since prehistoric times when cavemen would draw patterns with mud in an effort to decorate the place that they are living. The art of kolam is mentioned in the 16th century Tamil literary work called Madurai Meenakshi Ammai Kuram, which says that make a paste of kungumam, turmeric, and sandalwood, coat the floor, and put a kolam over that and offer the incense smoke. That is the essence of that Tamil verse there. Kungumam, sandanam, kulambit, kurithu, kuraithu, taraimezhigi, kolammittu, kunguliya, kolumbugayum kaati. Though the word kolam appears in the 16th century literature, kolam art finds its place in the 2000 years old Sangam literature called Natrinai and 1200 years old Vaishnavite literature called Andal Pasuram. So this is the poem from Natrinai where I have highlighted the words Vari Punai Sitril. Vari means even though kolam is the word that has come in the later stages, earlier 2000 years ago, any art form or kolam is represented as vari. Vari means in Tamil that means line. Vari Punai Sitril. Sitril means in a small house. So this is the Tamil translation, English translation of that same poem. And here the poet describes what the heroine's friend says to her as the hero is listening nearby. What he says is, the heroine's friend is telling to the heroine that you will be like doing all this kolams, you'll be playing around, and now you're not doing so because you are in love with that man. So the heroine's friend is telling that man that heroine is in love with her. And here in that poem, what we can make out is here as a child, she used to play with making mud houses, and in front of that small mud houses, they used to make the columns. This shows that even as children, they have the aptitude and the interest of making columns in their household. And no house is complete without a column. And this is another evidence from our Tamil literature by poet Bharathidasan in his poem Kudumba Vilakku, where he says that what is the daily routine of a woman in Tamil Nadu. So he does this Arisi Ma Kolam in the morning. So when we talk about kolam and rangoli, it is not one and the same. The critical distinction between the kolam and the other women's ritual designs is that kolam is drawn daily in Tamil Nadu. It is a daily ritual in Tamil Nadu, and most of these other women's ritual patterns are drawn occasionally, only to celebrate, to honor, and to mark various occasions like annual festivals like Diwali or New Year, or any association with the manifestation of a god or a goddess. And when compared to rangoli, kolam is more geometrical and involves an intrinsic mathematical aptitude as compared to rangoli or other popular flora traditions. All over Tamil Nadu, urban or rural, at homes of the poor or rich, educated or illiterate, it is an almost identical ritual takes place every morning. The threshold of the home is swept, washed clean, and a beautiful pattern is drawn out by hand. And the kolam skills are considered a mark of grace, dexterity, discipline, and concentration. And this is a common sight that you walk when you walk through any street in Tamil Nadu, be it a city or a village. This is how a kolam is made every morning by women. So though not as flamboyant as its other Indian contemporary rangoli, South Indian kolam has definitely a strong mathematical thinking, as the arrangement of pulleys, that is the dots, is based on Fibonacci series, algebraic and numeric principles. Kolam epitomizes geometrical properties of symmetry, periodicity or otherwise repetition, recursion, and rhythm. When we talk about the art and science of kolam, kolam is drawn with the hands using the rice flour, either dry or wet. The dry rice flour, if you want the kolam to last longer, the same thing is made with the wet flour. That is called as ma kolam. So this is how a kolam with a wet rice flour is made. So this is a picture of a beautiful, very big kolam with very symmetrical patterns, and it is done by so many women, and it is typical of what we call the Nagarattar practice. Nagarattar is the Chettiars from Karaikudi and that part of Tamil Nadu. They have the habit of putting kolam as a group in a big way. So this is one of the beautiful pictures showing the women doing the ma kolam as a group effort. So the types of lines observed in the kolam designs are either straight, curved, open-ended, closed-ended, vertical, horizontal, zigzag, wavy, short, and long lines. Based on the size of the kolam designs, the artists use various lines of thickness, be it single, double, triple, or multiple, or thin or thick. So in the making of kolam, all the 6 categories of mathematical skills are involved. Counting, locating, that means identifying the particular dot, measuring, designing, playing, and explaining are all involved. In order to be able to make a perfect design, the woman need to keep account of vertices, that is the edge, that is the corners, the number of the curves, and the points at which the curves and the lines meet. Though the kolam is being practiced purely as an art, the symmetry and the replicating pattern has drawn the attention of researchers to derive a lot of higher order mathematical meaning to it. So you must have heard about what we call the Fibonacci series. Fibonacci is an Italian mathematician. Based on his observation, there is a sequence that is called as Fibonacci sequence, such that each number is the sum of the 2 preceding ones. If you look at the sequence here, it starts with 0 and the next is 1. That is 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. any given number is the sum of the preceding two numbers. And 3 and 5, 3 plus 5, 8, 5 plus 8, 13, and it goes on like this. And what they have observed is in many of the column patterns, this sequence is being followed. So there is one Mr. S. Narayanan, who is an astrophysicist, and he is a firm believer of the interdisciplinary character of science and has diversified his interest to other fields such as mathematics. And he is the person who observed the pattern of Fibonacci sequence in our South Indian column. So this is how it is. This is what we call a Fibonacci triangle. I am not going into the details of this, then it will become a max class. Then it starts with 2, 3, 2 plus 3, 5, 8, 13, and 21. So this is like this. You keep the dots according to the numbers and you get a beautiful design. And these are all the simple columns, or the Kambi column, we call it in Tamil, where it starts from the simple 2 by 3 dots where various designs are made. And basically you are increasing the number of dots and increasing the various patterns are arrived. These are all some of the basic designs which keeps multiplying. If you multiply the same things in the arithmetic progression, you will get a bigger and bigger columns. This is all the basic patterns of columns used in the Fibonacci sequence. This is again another, that is what is Fibonacci rectangle. And this is the next thing is the Fibonacci square, where here is 5 multiples of 5, various designs are there. You can build it up into bigger column by putting it 5, 10, 15 dots. This is again the same this thing. And if you look at this, it looks very complicated and intricate pattern. But if you actually look into this, it is a repetition of a 5 by 8 dot pulley column. So if you look at this 5 by 8 forms a pattern, and this 5 by 8 forms a pattern, and this is another 5 by 8, and this is another 5 by 8. So 5 by 8 is the sequence. If you add 5 plus 8 is 13. So this pulley column is 13 by 13. If you extend the same thing, 5, 18, 13 plus 8 is 21. If you do this 21 by 21, you get the bigger form of column. It follows the Fibonacci's numbers. So though the same column, I put it in my house, this is how it is, but I added some red border. It also follows the same pattern. So it adds to the beauty of the column. We have also must have heard about the Lissajous figures. In physics, there is a phenomenon which has strikingly similar patterns as the columns called Lissajous figures. They are the representations of electrical oscilloscopes or patterns of complex harmonic motions. You know, electrical oscilloscopes, when the electrical current is recorded in a paper, you get some graphic pictures. So this coincidence is an image of the underlying invisible structure of patterns within patterns to be found throughout the nature and the world of man. So as you know, this is a simple pattern of a Psyklo column, and this is the Lissajous figure. So you see the similarity between the two, and the same thing, if it is extended in all directions, you get a bigger form of column. So our columns projections of some hidden mysticism. So the question is, I would like you to watch this video. It's
we know 4/3. We know what 4/3 is. It's 1.333, but we have to have those 3 dots. Otherwise, it's not exactly 4/3. But this is only in base 10. You know, the number system, we use 10 digits. If we change that around and only use 2 digits, that's called the binary system. It's written like this. So we're now talking about the number. The number is 4/3. And we can write it like this. And we can just change the base, change the number of digits, and we can write it differently. So these are all representations of the same number. We can even write it simply like 1.3 or 1.6. It all depends on how many digits you have. Or perhaps we should simplify and just write it like this. I like this one because this is 4 divided by 3. And this number expresses a relation between 2 numbers. You have 4 on the one hand and 3 on the other. And you can visualize this in many ways. And what I'm doing now is I'm viewing that number from different perspectives. I'm playing around. I'm playing around with how we view something. And I'm doing it very deliberately. We can take a grid If it's 4 across and 3 up, this line equals 5 always. It has to be like this. This is a beautiful pattern, 4 and 3 and 5. And this rectangle, which is 4 by 3, you've seen a lot of times. This is your average computer screen. 800 by 600 or 1600 by 1200 is the television or the computer screen. So these are all nice representations, but I want to go a little bit further and just play more with this number. Here you see 2 circles, and I'm going to rotate them like this. And observe the upper left one. It goes a little bit faster, right? You can see this. And it actually goes exactly 4/3 as fast. And that means that when it goes around 4 times, the other one goes around 3 times. Now let's make 2 lines and draw this dot where the lines meet. We get this dancing dot around. And this dot comes from that number. Right? Now we should trace it. Let's trace it and see what happens. This is what mathematics is all about. It's about seeing what happens. And this emerges from 4/3. I like to say that this is the image of 4/3. It's a very much nicer, thank you. We know 4/3, we know what 4/3 is.
So this is basically to put up, are these columns are projections of something hidden there. So we need to explore into that.
We know 4/3.
So now we have what we call the Universal Kolam Cube. The column, as we know, we are all making the columns. And what is there for the blind and other mentally challenged people? The Universal Kolam Cube, also called Psyklo, is an educational toy developed by digitalization of the traditional religious Indian kolam patterns, as well as the European Celtic patterns and African Sana patterns, and designed universally. So it is assessed the visually impaired and the blind appreciate kolam. These patterns possess rich mathematical and geometrical features with rules different from the Eulerian cycle. Any child or adult can now enjoy or wonder how not only beautiful but also complex forms results from the recursive use of the simple rules. This set of wooden cubes with kolam primitive patterns on each side, containing some devices that enable the cubes to be attached and easily rotated in many combinations. The patterns are printed and embossed with colored and tactile material in a special configuration for those with visual and other disabilities to universally recognize the lines and dots. So this is something what we call a protein column, an artistic rendition of a molecular structure data. I just put the cover of that book called The Introduction of the Protein Structure. If you look at the picture, you can see some uniform pattern. It looks like more like our Psyklo column. And it is an artistic rendition of a molecular structure data. That is what we call it as protein column also. And there are 2 authors by name Balaji and Neela, and they have published an artistic rendition of the molecular structure data. They simplified the representation of the proteins through the use of traditional art column. This artistic representation presents an intrinsic means for understanding the complicated protein folds. It's been published in the MIT Press volume 46 in the year 2013. Although there are tools to help women create their columns, the real measure of a master is when the column is done freehand. So I'm just going to take you through how to do a simple Rangoli columns. To make people interested in this art, the easiest task should be taught first. So when compared to Rangoli and column, now pretty much you will be sure and accept that putting Rangoli is much easier than putting a Psyklo column that is a characteristic and unique of South India, particularly Tamil Nadu. So to put this simple Rangoli, what I would suggest is put a center dot and put 3 dots like each direction in all the 8 arms. That is 3 up and down, this side, and this side. Just like putting a star. And again, connect the dots. And on this outer circle, you put the same dots like this. And in between the dots, the same 2 dots have to be put. So in between, here, between this and this, there are 2 dots. The same way between this and this, there should be 2 dots. Even in the outer line, between this marked dots, there should be 2. So it is always center 3. And the same way, this you think a center and 3 dots after that. So after that, you connect all the dots, you get a beautiful design like this. And to take it further, So this dot, which is one of the main lines, you just connect it to the next major line. So that is coming just straight across this one. So you connect this. Like this, you connect, once you've made the correct connection, then automatically the rest follows. So the next dot to the next dot, the next dot to the next dot. If you do this, you'll get a beautiful round picture. So when you complete it, it looks like this. So this is a very simple drawing. So if you color it, you can get it like this. It is in a paper, I have done it. If you don't want to color it, if you want to put it more like in a white color, you can add some more thin lines. As I told you, people make thicker lines, thinner lines. So thin lines in between, and here also in between. So to make it more intricate and complicated. So this is how we make the grid or the outline and then fill the color. So this is the outcome of that beautiful column. So basically you have to put the outline and you have to have a sense of color, and it is always better to start with a darker color in the center and coming out with a brighter and lighter colors. So this is another column that I made with a little bigger petals. So another column is a very simple one. So you just make any number of concentric circles you want to, how much bigger you want the column. And usually it will be like 1, 2, 3, 4, you make 16 partitions and you choose 4 colors. So you start with a green. So you fill the first column, first part with a green, and then you don't go to exactly the next one, you come the next cycle, next diagonally opposite one, and in the outer circle, that's the next one and next one and next one like this. So you mark the colors. You start with the green, yellow, orange, and red. And you have to repeat the same colors all through. 4 times it will come because there are 16 columns altogether. So you start with the green, then the next column is yellow, and next is orange, and then the last one is the red. You keep repeating the same thing all over again, and you will, at the end of it, you will have this. So to look at, we all know it is all concentric circles. If you look at it straight, you will see, you can appreciate the concentric circles. But if you see it at an angle, you can make out the spiral pattern of this. So this is how it looks like. It is an optical illusion. So if you look at it at a distance, it looks like a spiral pattern, but actually it is not spiral, it is concentric circles. This is again the number of concentric circles you make, and you fill the color you want and put the design as you like it. So next comes, so as you all accept and understand now that putting a rangoli is much easier than putting a sikku column. So this is a very simple sikku column starting from 3 by 3 dots, and this is exactly a single line. And this is not a single line. This is a single line. This is not single line. So various combinations and patterns you can make with a simple 3 by 3 dots. And this is a very normal and a very common pattern that anybody in Tamil Nadu will know about this who put sikku column. So the same single pattern is repeated here twice and made a bigger column. And here it is repeated 4 times, once, twice, thrice, and 4 times. And in between you join these and you get a bigger column. So this explains the arithmetic progression of the column patterns. And here again the same thing. It is not a single line. It is just a line, and then you are crossing the line at each dot like this. It is the basic pattern, and you expand it to a bigger pattern, you'll get a bigger column. So everybody in Tamil Nadu will also be aware of this Hridaya Kamalam column. And to look at the final picture of this column, everything looks like a single petal, but it is a single line. So the skeleton of the column with 8 arms, put 1 single dot and 5 dots on either side. So you make 8 arms altogether, and you start with the first dot in any of the arms, and it goes with first, then comes the third, and then fifth, and then second and fourth. It follows this sequence 1, 3, 5, 2, and 4. And if you keep doing it, you will get a final picture of this column. So this is a single line column. So we have seen the artistic aspects of the column and the mathematical aspects of the column. But we clinicians, we also will be interested in knowing column as a therapy for many problems. And Kolam has been used as a therapy for autism. And Kolam workshops for children with autism, people with restricted limb movements, and 3 to 6 year olds have been conducted in our city of Chennai to assist the children with autism and otherwise disabled children. So there is a article published in the Hindu newspaper in 2008 titled The Dot by Mrs. Gayatri Shankara Narayanan. She has selected 50 samples of mild mentally retarded children from Ramakrishna Mission Vidyalaya, and the researcher creates simple shapes such as circles, stars, and flowers. And she introduced these Kolam patterns in the middle of the classroom. After 1 month of intervention, she finds out that a significant improvement in the fine motor activity of those children. And all these studies have shown that sensory integrative therapy has a greater impact on fine motor activity among mentally challenged children. So this is again a simple column, a simple pattern of putting across this thing, and it can be expanded to any size depending on the numbers the dots you have to 1, 5, 9, 13. And again, the same way. So you can put any number of designs and any size column with the basic patterns like this. So this is again how in any household, in a puja room during festival time, a column is put. So this is a column that is put during Pongal festival. So I can see some Pongal here, and then this turmeric plants and some karumbu also here. And you can see the sun and the moon, and it's like a Thanksgiving as a harvest festival. And you can put the column, the same pattern. Here it is put in ma column. It is a wet rice flour, and we also create a beautiful pattern with the border. It also follows the same principle as I shown earlier. So this is the same column that's put in ma column, that is wet rice flour. And also you can make a lot of borders with different patterns. And as you know, this is the basic pattern in all these things. The way it goes, it is a single line. So just go this way, come here, and then here like this. The same thing is being expanded in any size, to any size. So coming to the column, the present and the future, column art, which has fascinated mankind since the prehistoric times and continues to do so even today. And numerous art workshops and competitions are keeping the art alive. And the younger generation is showing immense interest in this art. And the gender bias seems vanishing, with many men showing interest in column, which was earlier the women's prerogative. And this is the famous Margali column competition in Mylapore, which keeps the art alive even today. So to conclude, the impressive patterns are drawn every morning by rich, poor, educated, uneducated, young and old, with amazing show of dexterity, deftness, concentration, and agility, which only shows that a vast population carries with mathematical and scientific temperament. Only the right opportunities are required to unlock the talent. Thus, the practice of column is a truly diverse and experiential one that can be fully appreciated only when seen from a wide perspective of everyday life. And this is my Pongal column this year, and hope you all enjoyed this talk. And also, once again, I thank the organizers for giving me this different topic and make me read about this in an extensive manner. Thank you very much.